Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Thanks for joining me today. Today's card is a black background with a bold red flower on it, and it's inspired by the challenge at Make the Cards Challenge. To start, I'm stenciling on 110-pound black cardstock. This is Pop Tone 110-pound cardstock. You can get it at Cut Cardstock, and I have the link over on my blog. But I'm stenciling with an old stencil that I haven't used in a very long time that I thought was absolutely beautiful. And the embossing medium that I'm using is the Creative Effects and Iridescent, and it has a really subtle sheen to it, and it's really creamy, and this stuff lasts forever. Now, I did this before I left for work the other morning and let it dry all day. It actually only takes probably about 30-45 minutes for it to completely dry so that you can use it. But I did it before I went to work, so I wouldn't have to wait for it to dry in the evening when I went to put my card together. If you're stenciling using any kind of medium like an embossing paste or anything, be sure that you wash your stencil off immediately. I keep a little soft toothbrush to do that with. I'm pulling out a lot of older stuff that I haven't used in a long time or have maybe only used once. And because some of these things are not available anymore, I did list some really great alternatives to get the same look with very similar products. I am going to be Copic coloring. I'm stamping this on 80-pound Nina Solar White cardstock, stamping it twice. And I'm using Lawn Fawn's Jet Black ink because it is Copic safe. I do like to wish this around in the air for a few seconds, not minutes, in order to make sure that the ink is completely dry, because sometimes when you double stamp that center, I don't want it to smear. I am using RV99, R89, R29, and R27 as my color combination. I'm putting that RV99 in the deep recesses, in the really dark areas of the flower, and then progressively coming out. I start with my darkest and go out to my lightest, but I don't go back in because I don't like that particular look. That's not my personal preference. If you like to start with your lightest color and put down a solid base, that's absolutely fine. However Copic coloring works for you and you get the best results from, then that's how you do it. When I started learning how to Copic color and blend, I started by starting with my lightest color in a complete base over that area, and then went to my darkest color and worked my way up that way. I don't do that anymore, and some of that is because I've gotten better at recognizing where my dark colors go, and some of it has just gotten, I like the look of unblended stuff, especially in flowers, because I think it gives it more dimension. But like I said, that's my personal preference, and however you want to Copic color is absolutely fine. Now, I wanted you to see the rest of this, but I'm doing the same thing over and over. So I'm going to play just a little bit of music while I color these other things, and then I'll pop back in when I'm done coloring. popped my finished color image back in my Mini Misty, and I had left the stamp in here so that I could go back and stamp it again and get a really bold black outline for my floral image. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating die for this. It's a Catherine Pooler stamp set and die set, and I think it's 2 or 3 years old maybe. It's Grace and Bloom is the name of the set, but I couldn't find it for sale anywhere. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's been in my stash, and it's one of my favorite floral images because it's just really simple and pretty. So now I'm going to use the Spellbinders die, and it is from Nestability's Triple Tier. I have 2 different circle dies that are approximately the same size that will give you the same effect as this. This die is ancient, and it's one of my favorite circle dies just because it has some detail around the edge of it, but it's not too fancy, and I've made several cards with this over the years. Now I'm going to go ahead and ink the edge of this just a little bit with some pink ink, and no, it's not going to be that bright. I'm using Pink Fresh Studios Ballet Slipper, and the little blending brush that I'm using is from Altenew. It's just perfect for my hand. I love these teeny little blending brushes. They're just perfect for me. And I'm just putting some pink ink around the edge of this just to make it stand out a little bit, give it a little something different there on the background of the card. And I'm going to place this in the middle, and I'm going to put the die cut flower on top of it. And now we're going to do the sentiment. And the sentiment's from the same stamp set. I didn't pull out a different one. Be sure you're using anti-static powder tool, especially if you're using black on white cardstock or white on black cardstock. This is also the 110-pound cardstock. It cuts beautifully, it embosses beautifully, and like I said, it's Black Licorice is the name of the color, and it's Pop Tone from Cut Cardstock. And that link is over on my blog. Heat this nice and smooth. I'm using white detail embossing powder, and I'm going to cut this in a strip to go across the bottom of the card. So I want this to be a solid strip across there. I'm cutting it pretty close to the sentiment, and I'm going to put a piece of white cardstock behind it, but I'm going to color the white cardstock with the Copic marker that coordinates with my flowers. I would never in a million years be able to match a red. No, I know I wouldn't. So I'm just going to take the chisel end and draw a strip of color on both sides of the paper, fill it in, take away the streaks, clean up the residual alcohol ink on my mat, and then I'm going to glue this on the front. And now we're going to pop everything up with some foam squares and put our card together. Our card base is 110-pound white cardstock. I use the cardstock from Hobby Lobby for my card bases because they run it on sale, and it's usually like a 50-pack, and then I can come home and cut those really quick. The only complaint that I have about it is it's pretty much not square. It's always a little bit off the measurement is, just a shade. I'm going to put some foam squares. These are micro foam squares. Remove that release paper, and I'm going to put that in the center of the card. And I used the little eyelets on the side and lined it up with that center pattern on the card because that was pretty centered. It's not perfect, but that's okay because it's a handmade card. It's not supposed to be perfect. Well, let's talk about the Make the Cards challenge. Like I said, this week our challenge is a technique challenge, and it's to use black cardstock in your background. Come over and join us. It's a lot of fun just to sit down and be challenged to do something different that you may have never done with a card. And we do different challenges each week, so it's not always a technique challenge. Sometimes it's a sketch challenge, sometimes it's a color challenge. Sometimes we have done collaborations with other challenges as well. Just check it out every week. It starts on a Wednesday and it runs for 2 weeks and ends on a Tuesday. And then we announce a weekly winner or a bi-weekly winner of who our team picked to be the best card for that week. So pop over and join us and check out all the design team challenges and the other entrance challenges as well. So here's our card all finished. I'm going to add a little bit of white gel pen in the centers of the flower just to make them pop a little bit, give it a little something extra. But I didn't need to add any shine or anything to it because of that background and it's absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't ever used an embossing medium on a background for a card, try it out. It's a lot of fun, and you can get a lot of different looks from it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Y'all